Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to SisStar Cipher. I have a wonderful show lined up to us today because this is where we take the time to truly interview. Like I was telling you, Oneka, that I wanted to interview you, yes, but I want to interview you. I want to hear your glory story on this beautiful Sunday. We're going to take the time out to truly interview this powerful woman walking in purpose. Tonight's conversation is very special because we're celebrating Women's History Month, and today is International Women's Day. And tonight we are highlighting a phenomenal woman in our community, Attorney Oneka. She is a mother of 5, an immigration attorney, and a strong advocate for vulnerable communities, including survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and immigrant families. But tonight on SisStar Cipher, we're not just talking about titles. We're talking about the woman, the wonderful woman behind the work. Sister Oneka, welcome to SisStar Cipher.
Hello, my sister. How are you, Sister Sparkle?
I'm doing very good, thank you. It's so good to have you here. I know that where you are, though, you don't have to worry about a sweater. Although we did have a good day today. The sun was out and everything.
No snow today?
No snow today. The snow is actually melting.
Okay, well, I'm not going to show off because we spent a little bit of time at the pool and we've been outside enjoying this beautiful sunshine.
Wow. Oh, that sounds really good. So I'm so happy you're here. So before we get into all the amazing work you've done in the legal world, I wanted to start here because a woman like yourself, your journey obviously had to have been shaped. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Oneka, at the core.
That's a pretty loaded question. I don't know where to start. I came from Caribbean parents, grew up in the beautiful island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, came to the United States at 16, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, searching for the American dream, right? Within my journey, I've, had my ups and my downs. I have 5 beautiful children that range in ages from adult to 2-year-old. So I stay busy. I've been busy for the last 22 to 23 years, just raising my children, as well as just doing, the work in the community that I see that speaks to me, and speaks to my journey and where I have been.
It's so funny because when I asked you to send me your bio, right, the first thing you said was mother. And I'm like, wow, I can't wait to get you here to ask you about that. Like, out of all the things that, look at all the stuff I put down. Pretty sure you're more, right?
Yeah,
I put down.
But mother is the essence of who I am, like when I think, and that's why when you asked me, I started with mother because of all of the other accomplishments, titles, things, and everything else, being able to mother and, those of us that have been able to mother from our womb, or maybe we were not able to mother from our womb, but we've mothered other people in the community, we realize, and not to bring in my sister Tioka in here, but I remember Sister Tioka said to me one time, she said, you know what? But motherhood is your first duty, like that's your first job, Oneka. So that's something that resonated with me, and it just confirmed for me that, I'm on the right track when it comes to putting my children first. So mothering, I believe, is what molds the future, and in the hand of the mother is the future of the entire existence of humanity. So if I can do my tiny part of molding my little humans, the best way that I can, and impart a little bit of me and of our creator in them, then they can go forth and, multiply what's been given onto them, because they can only multiply what's already been poured in. So that's important to me. I lead with that. If nothing else, mother is definitely my number one achievement.
That's because when I went to school for media marketing and management, right, they told us that when you're writing something, it has to be in alphabetical order. But I'm like, no, I'm not messing up what she put mother first, because I was going at activist, advocate, attorney, and then
Mm-hmm.
mother. Then I rearranged it. But if you look very closely at how the acronym for it is pretty much Ma
Yeah.
MA.
Yes, exactly.
Like
That's the word.
Ma.
If you know anything about 2-year-olds, that's every day, all day, 50 times a day. Ma, every sentence starts with ma. So
So
that's like, yeah.
that was, I thought that was so adorable.
Yeah.
So I just had to.
Nothing is coincidental at all.
So you spoke about your children. How has motherhood, shaped the woman and the work that you do? How tell me some similarities. I know there's some big differences,
Mhm.
obviously, but I want to hear the
Yeah.
similarities.
So before becoming a mother, I would say that even though I was self-aware and I knew that, and I believe that each person has a specific purpose as to why they're placed on the earth, and you may not have discovered that purpose quite yet. But being a mother, once I became a mother for the first time, it fixed my view of the world and why we do what we do. Right, just going back to the same focus of motherhood being the first job, um, teaching my children. And thankfully, I have it's a big group of, it's 5 of them, right? So it's not just like 1 or 2 children around the house. There are 5 children. So at home, I'm teaching diplomacy. I'm teaching, body autonomy. No means no. Yes means yes. Not being a selfish person. If I have an apple, I will, even though I might have a whole bag of apples, I'll take that one apple, I'll cut it into pieces, and they can't get another piece until their brother has had another piece, teaching them empathy for the world, just learning how one child's talent or strength may not be the other person's talent or strength. So even taking that out into the real world, recognizing that everyone is not coming from the same place that you came from, right? Or with the same moral compass that you came from, or even believing in the same God that you believe in. So understanding that the world out there is different and that your impact on the world is not about you and who you are, but about them and how you can impact their life and what talents you have to take out into the world. So that's where I think mothering and the type of work that I do coincides, because I would hope that my children would become the type of people that will go out and advocate for those that don't have a voice, and, stand up for the voiceless and for those that don't feel empowered to do the things that we do so easily and freely with our voices.
Wow. You make me want to be a mom again.
I know.
For all the single woman who's not mothers yet, you gotta want to be a mother after that. So
Yeah.
like, it's a wonderful feeling, man. I'm telling you, embrace that child, teach that child, train, like everything that you have inside of you, and then more you want to give into your child. It's such a wonderful feeling, because when they grow up, you start to see the fruits of your labor. It's a grind. Don't get me wrong. We both all know the mothers out there. We all know it's not easy, but trust me, when you do it righteously with them, it will be worth it. Because let's just say you just pour in good solid 10, 15 years in them. Man, listen, they'll be all right,
And what you get to learn from children as well is, because I hear a lot in the news, people like, oh, well, he's like that because of his parenting and things like that, he's a bad guy. But we gotta deal with each other with a measure of grace as well, because one thing that I've learned in having multiple children is that you can grow 5 children in the same household with the same methodology, etc., and they turn out to be totally different people, but you know that in your heart you've done your part. Hopefully none of mine take the bad route, but even if one of them did, I would have known in my heart that I did my part. So shout out to the moms out there whose kids might not be going down the route that they know they taught them, but I also believe in the word, and it says train up a child in the way they should go, and as they grow older they will not depart from it. So it may look like a departure now, but at some point best believe, even if they're sitting in their jail cell right now, your voice is their conscience speaking to them, reminding them what the mom teach me. And doesn't matter how tough they try to act, whatever, in the back of their hearts, they know those things that you taught them, and that this is not something that you would want for them. So, don't give up the faith, and don't beat yourself up if your children aren't doing the great things that you expected from them, at least not at this time. It will come.
Yes.
The
Oh,
power of
thank
a
you for saying
woman.
that. Thank you for saying that. Happy International Women's Day, man. We have a comment
Yeah.
here from another phenomenal woman, who's Nancy Gasson, who's saying hello from YouTube.
Hi,
She's watching.
Nancy.
Yeah, it's very true about the, don't feel guilty part, because we need to hear that, like, sometimes these children, they have a mind of their own,
Yeah.
so, but, all right, so we flowing right along. I know I have these questions for you, but I really feel like asking some other questions, but I'm gonna keep on script because it's International Women's
No, go
Day.
ahead. Feel free, sis. This is your show. We can flow with the questions. I don't mind.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Let me just take off this comment. So the next question that I have for you though is, like, it is Women's History Month, right? And it's International Women's History Month. I just felt like it worked out so, because I was working on, who to interview, how to interview. I love all you women in my life. I think you are all phenomenal, but it's only so much time that I can interview so many people at once. But I just think that is, like, not a coincidence that the day that I have asked you to come on is International Women's, because you're dealing with immigration.
Yes.
You're dealing with people from internationally, from all across the way. Even you yourself have traveled the waters to be of service of her. We were so privileged to have you in Utica, New York. And still have you in Utica, New York. So, I said all that to say, like, how do you feel about International Women's Day, Women's History Month, and who is one of the most influential women in your life besides your mom? Your mom.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So I guess starting with how I feel about International Women's, I feel like we've come a long way, as women. And we spell woman WOMAN, but I believe, it should be spelled WOMBMAN, right? So we've come a long way as women, and we are the mothers of the earth, right? Without us, and without, the nurturing that comes from within our bellies, right? The earth and everyone therein would not exist. So I think that it's very important to recognize a woman in this day and in this age that we're in. And there are many women that I can think of that have made a great impact on us as a nation. But to bring it locally, I can say that there are many women in the Utica, Rome area that have made a great impact in my life. Specifically, I would like to call out Pastor Sharon Ball of Hope Chapel. And I just met Pastor Ball in 2018, 2019, after moving to Utica. But the reason why I say that she has had such an impact in my life is that she's not the run-of-the-mill, pastor or church leader that you would expect specific things. And there's certain things that I can sit and speak to her about that I feel like I wouldn't feel comfortable or dare speaking to your traditional, church leader about. And knowing that I can go to this lady's house, sit on her porch, sit inside, have the pastor make me hot tea, and sit and talk about the many issues of life and debunk so many of the myths and the things that you would think would be something that would be taboo, like, like who wants the pastor to know? And she's not my pastor. I didn't attend her church. That's what's crazy about it, right? But she would always like see me and just pull me in. Oneka, come see me, come visit. And when I go in, man, the knowledge that comes forth, And
Wow.
it's not the traditional, oh my gosh, as women you need to submit to this and that. It's the empowerment that's there, and the
Yeah.
knowing, and the, hey, this is, just knowing the word for yourself, and knowing what your expectations are and what God's expectations are of you, and not judging yourself based on what the world expects or the man-made rules, but knowing within your knowing that you
Mm.
are connected to your creator, and that you can hear from him directly, without having to go through a medium. So I would say that she was one of the people that really, really opened my eyes to taking on my faith personally, um, versus, just following like blind sheep, if that makes sense.
Mm. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. That was really good to hear. And then you said the knowing without knowing without knowing. Wow,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So the next question I have for you, Sissy, is about your attorneyism. If that's a word I just made up.
It's good. It works.
So every attorney, okay, well, first of all, just a little slight distinction between an attorney and a lawyer, because me and my brother was going back and forth about 2 months ago, and then I
Mm-hmm.
had to look it up. So snap up to you when I found out the difference. Like everybody be like, I'm gonna get me a lawyer. I'm gonna get me no. I'm gonna get me an attorney. Can you just briefly describe the difference? Because a lot of us think they're the same, and actually they're really not.
Well, it
There's
just
some
depends.
similarities. There's a lot of
There are
similarities.
similarities. The word lawyer and attorney are used interchangeably, but when it comes to an attorney, when you think of an attorney, you're thinking more of like a counselor, a litigator, someone that's going into the courts and actually doing the work, for you as a client. And a lawyer, if you don't rise to the level of an attorney, a lawyer is more of like, okay, I have the legal knowledge, and I can give you the generalized meaning of what the law means and things like that. But the ones that are actually going into the court, fully practicing, fully advocating, and to the level of professionalism, and I don't know what the word is, of your legal professionalism. So you can be a lawyer, be a person that haven't passed the bar, right?
Mhm.
You've went to law school, you're a lawyer, right? But then once you actually take the law exam and you've shown that your professionalism and your ability to put that into work, then you rise to the level of esquire. So
Wow.
then you can call me Miss Esquire, because now
Miss
I've raised the level to the level of attorney.
Wow, that is so wonderful. Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm going to take a minute right now and look for this sound right here.
You're so silly.
Yeah, I can't help it.
Uh,
Every attorney has a moment when they realize this is the path they're meant to take, or every lawyer, right?
mhm.
What was that moment for you?
Um, for me, it would have been my last year of law school, when we were required to sign up for clinicals. So, you're in law school, you're learning the law, you're learning how to discern the law, how to do your research and things like that. And then there's the practicum part, where you actually have to go in, and they call it a clinic. But what that is, you're either working in the courts, or you're working, in different areas, depending on the ones that you choose. So there were a few different clinics that were available. I put my name on the list, and the two that I chose filled up so fast that they didn't have space for me. So I was very upset. But then my clinical supervising attorney, she said, well, Oneka, we do have a spot on the domestic violence court advocacy team. I said, but I didn't choose that. He's like, yeah, well, I think you do a great job. You do have a great advocate's voice. And, Sparkle, the person now, is not the person that I was growing up. Like, I didn't really have much of a voice, right? I was very quiet. My mom used to actually tell me all the time, still waters run deep, but I never knew what it meant. But what she really meant was I mightn't say a lot, but I was surely getting into a lot of stuff in the background, right? But so what helped me to find my voice and to just find my niche or the thing that met what I needed to do, my life's work or my purpose, was me being forced into this domestic violence court advocacy program, where now I was here every day at the courthouse against my will, meeting with survivors of domestic violence and counseling them on their legal options, how to get an injunction for protection, restraining orders, and things like that. And little did they know, or as a matter of fact, little did I know, because coming up in a Caribbean household and from a Caribbean point of view, a lot of the things that women go through as married women in a Caribbean household, it may not really be considered or seen as domestic violence. Mm-hmm. It's just seen as you're the woman and that's the man, and that's just how things go. So when I entered the clinic and I started working on the clinic, it opened my eyes to a lot of things that were wrong in society, and a lot of things that as women we just kind of sat by and allowed to happen, and recognizing that domestic violence doesn't have to be physical. Domestic violence is also emotional, mental, the control aspect. A lot of times people throw around the whole narcissist. Everything is narcissism right now.
Yeah, that's trending right now.
Thing right now. But a lot of what, as women in the African American culture, as well as Afro-Caribbean cultures, we found that a lot of the actions, unfortunately, of our men, and just that's what's accepted by the older women and passed down to us as the younger women as, hey, those are just the ups and downs of marriage or relationship or whatever. Being a part of this and seeing my clients come in and having to counsel them on their legal recourse. And of course, a lot of times they would come in, and it's very hard to separate the law and the legal part from the therapy part. So many times the legal consult also became a therapy session, because I had to sit and listen to them recount everything that they were going through and validate that. So I said all that to say that that was the turning point for me. And that was, a lot of times you have these questions in your mind as to, Lord, why did I go through this as a child? Like, why did I have to fight for my life? Or why did I have to, make these teenage men or whoever realize that my body is not theirs, their property? Or why did I have to, just in general, why did me speaking up seem to be so foreign to them? Because, as a female, how dare me raise my voice, or how dare me assert, my humanity and my ability to stand together with you on the level playing field, as man and as woman, right? So, that was the turning point, and that really solidified for me, and it helped me to put all the pieces of the puzzle of my life together and realize that, oh God, that's why I went through that, or that's why I had to, see this happen, or personally go through this. So now I can sit with my clients and not only just hear their story and be like, oh, well, girl, yeah, you just do this. I can empathize and I can feel it from in here. Because unless you feel it from in here, then you're wasting your time. You shouldn't be in the work unless you can feel it right here, right? So I was able to feel it right here, and that was what solidified for me my ability to just move forward. And from then on, most of the opportunities that came forward always was something that had to do with either domestic violence or just voice of the voiceless. Right now, I'm a victims of crime advocate, attorney. That's just been my role. So I didn't choose it. I would say that path chose me from a young age.
Wow. That's so impactful. Like, am I supposed to be speechless as the host? Like, seriously, Oneka. But I do have a real question. That was so thank you for sharing. That's like a full circle moment, for you. I can only imagine, like, wow. we all know who's in control here, right? Like there's always
Mm-hmm.
a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the thing I wanted to ask you about immigration and domestic violence, like I want to know how does that work? Because I lost a very good, as a matter of fact, I lost my best friend from a broken heart, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
from a broken heart, some years back. And she was married to a man who she later found out that he was married to another woman in his country.
Oh my
So
God.
she came here. She was like bamboozled, swindled, or maybe even like probably I was consider that to be fraud, right? Like
It is. Yeah.
or so but I feel like so she found out there was really nothing she could do about it because she got pregnant and had another child already. So the
Mm-hmm.
child, grew up and she loved the child, but I really feel like when she found out it devastated her, but there was nothing she could really do legally. But he was like
So, so did
domestic
she file
violence to
paperwork?
her.
She filed paperwork for him, or he filed for her to come to the U.S.?
He filed she filed for him.
She filed his paperwork. Okay, so go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get a clearer
So yeah,
picture.
she filed for him, and
Mm-hmm.
then she carried on her life and everything, but she didn't. The baby's is not a baby anymore, but she left the baby behind because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was a broken heart for real. But my question to you is more like, so when those situations happen, domestic violence and people from other countries when they come here, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of shame in with that. She was born in America and things like that. Americans, they have a lot of pride about, talking to
Mm-hmm.
people from other countries because they always say, oh, the people just come here try to use you for your green card. It's like this taboo
Mm-hmm.
thing going on. But it really
Mm-hmm.
actually happened to her and the
Yeah.
child, then she was, she got abandoned and stuff like that. But she was a victim of domestic violence in that situation, but it wasn't physical. It was more of emotional,
Yeah.
psychological. Like in a situation like that, can something be done legally from a legal standpoint, or is that like just a part of the natural woman's heartbreak?
Yeah. I mean, but I don't know. So you said I'm assuming she's passed and
Yeah,
she's
she
left
passed
children
on.
behind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish I knew of her case before she passed because for one, I don't know the series of like when the first marriage happened versus the second marriage or anything else like that. But if he was already married in his country of
Mm-hmm.
origin and then he came here and married her and then she did paperwork for him, then his marriage to her was fraudulent by inception. So that means that any immigrant benefits that he received through her, they should be null and void because he was not, in order to get residency through a marriage, you have to have been free to marry, meaning that and the United States is not a polygamous nation. So if you were already married to someone else before you got married, I mean, she's deceased right now, but I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
old her children are. How
Yeah.
willing they are to try to fix what was wronged. But I would definitely say that he should be looking at some type of reporting can be done on the things that
Mm-hmm.
he's done, even minus the domestic violence, minus the emotional distress and the extreme cruelty, just the fact that he was legally married to someone else, so he could not have gotten a green card through marriage. So if that is something that's reported and proven, then he's not legally present in the United States if he still is here.
What if he wasn't legally married, just like married by like religious ways or cultural ways, but
Oh, okay, so
but
that's a little different.
maybe he had a baby. He had children though. He had children with
That's
this woman.
different, but even within that, even if he was not married, she can still prove that, if she can still prove that the marriage was by fraud, because you have to marry. When you marry, you can't just marry for a green card. And unfortunately, there are some people that really do marry for good intent, right? They do want to be here and be a family. But like in her example, the person just married so that they can get paperwork and then probably
Right,
bring over who they really wanted to be with.
right, right,
In
right.
circumstances such as that, even if he was not married to the other person, if she can prove, because if well, she's passed, but if the children or anyone else that takes up the case can prove that he came here or he married her not with the intention to live together as husband and wife, right? Especially if he had this other person in waiting, over there just waiting for her to
Right.
fix his paperwork, then that would be also something that was considered fraud. So it may not be bigamy or polygamy, but it could fall under, well, the question is, well, did you marry with the intent to live together as husband and wife, right? At the onset of the marriage. So if at the onset of the marriage, this other person already existed, and you can prove that there was communication and things like that with the other person, money being sent to the other person, things like that before the marriage, and right after the marriage and going throughout the marriage, then obviously then he did not marry with the intent to live together as husband and wife, and that could still be considered as misrepresentation and fraud, and it is a felony, and can be prosecuted, and all benefits of immigration removed.
Wow. Oh wow. So people are really playing with fire when they making these choices like this.
Yeah, and you know what? Some US citizen spouses also know, they take money or whatever else, it's in a business arrangement. They don't realize that if it's found out that it's a fraudulent marriage, not only is the immigrant losing their paperwork, but if you are part of the fraud, or you took money, or you knew that this was a marriage for business, you could also be convicted by the federal government felony, and spend up to 10 years in prison, for felony misrepresentation, fraud upon the government. So it's a serious matter. So, a lot of times you may see people come in and say, well, I didn't know he was just, he pretended like he wanted to be together, but then we turned around and it turned out that he just wanted a green card paperwork. They have to be really careful. You got to ask certain questions. No, you got to be truthful. Did you or did you not know? Did he pay you? If he paid you and he can prove that he paid you, both of you guys are going down. So I would not walk that route, So
got you. So you got to be mindful. You got to be
mindful. That money may look good right now, but in the long run, you're facing prison time. Don't do it. And as as an attorney, we have a balance in that attorney-client privilege, right? We're not allowed to, I'm not going to call the government, hey, this person came in and they said this and they have a fraudulent marriage. But if I even believe that your marriage is fraudulent, then I can't help you, because I am considered an officer of the court as well. So I have to uphold the laws. So a lot of times, people are hiring attorneys and believing they can come in and tell you anything. You can tell me anything, just don't tell me your marriage is fraud. I can't help you with that part. I'm not going to tell anybody else, but you have to leave now. No, I don't want your deposit.
My final question with that would be like, so if that marriage is fraud, what happens to that marriage? Is that an annulment or is that a regular divorce?
Which one? The first scenario you gave me?
This scenario right here, when it's a fraud marriage, like the paying for services, like, is that a
so the marriage is real because you got married, right? You went in court and you signed, you got married. So the marriage still exists, but where the fraud is for immigration purposes, it's marriage fraud. So you're considered to have committed a marriage fraud on the government by marrying for the wrong intent. So I mean, if you don't want to be with that person anymore, you have to go through a full divorce, because the marriage itself isn't void. The fraud you committed in attempting to get immigration benefits through the marriage is the issue. Whereas there are other examples, kind of flipping your friend's situation. I've had examples of persons who may have married. She came in, she's been living in the United States for a while. She married with good intent, right? And then once you marry to this U.S. citizen and you go through the process, comes to find out, well, he wasn't free to marry because the U.S. government finds that he's already married, right? In their research, they found that he's already married. He never told you he was already married.
Right.
In that case, even though your marriage is voidable because it was not, you can't be married to two people at the same time in the United States. You can still actually file for VAWA, which is Violence Against Women's Act, meaning that you weren't physically abused, but it's emotional abuse, and it's extreme cruelty to have someone believe that they were married to you when they really weren't, because of course they can't be married to you if you never divorced the first person, right? That's the first problem. But the reason why the immigration will still look at you as the spouse of a U.S. citizen when technically you're not, you've actually did what it means to be a wife. You've been living as a wife. You've consummated the marriage. In many instances, you've had a baby for this person.
Yes.
So once you've worked and you've done the action of being a wife, and you have a marriage certificate saying that you're a wife, then that issue becomes irrelevant, in that you can still file under different. You can't file through them because they're not your husband, but now they've become your U.S. citizen abuser. So you can do that in a different route.
Oh,
and
wow.
then of course that marriage is annulled because it wasn't a real marriage to begin with. And then that depends on the state. Every state has different rules as to how they can annul a marriage. So we're looking at two different things. There's federal law and then there's state law. So if you're looking at the immigration part of it, these are the things that could happen with immigration. But then when it comes to the state, you have to look at your state law to see, okay, is this marriage void or voidable? That's two different things. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is going to take another hour to talk about.
Oh, wow. That
you can't get benefits even though you were married to someone who was married to someone else and you didn't know.
That's some interesting stuff. Wow. That rabbit hole goes deep, because I have some questions too. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So because I also wanted to kind of stay on the immigration track, but there's a lot of people that are not working right now, or not leaving their homes or going to their doctor's appointments because they're afraid that, ICE or whatever is gonna, get them. Like, what do you say to somebody like that? Because I don't know what to say to someone like that. Like, because I guess I take for granted that I was born here, maybe, my mom was born here. So it's like, we don't know psychologically what can I be doing for someone who's like secluding themselves because they were afraid. Like, I can only imagine.
So that is also a difficult question, and that will be something that will depend on the specific details of that person's case. So I would suggest to them that they make a call to an immigration attorney, like myself or someone else that they may know, to schedule a consultation to really get into the nitty-gritty, because everyone's situation is the same, right?
That's right.
I mean, it's not the same, right?
Everybody's situation.
So I mean, as an attorney, I cannot tell you to avoid ICE, right? I can't legally advise you on ways to avoid ICE. I can tell you how to know. I can tell you your rights. I can say, okay, you need to know your rights. These are your rights, right? When you if ICE tries to detain you, you need to ask if you're in a private place versus a public place. If I'm in my private home, I'm not opening my door. I'm asking questions. Well, do you have a warrant, right? Is it a judicial warrant versus is it an administrative warrant? Those are two different things, right? And there's specific things that need to be on one type of warrant versus the other. So that would be something that would be like maybe a know your rights presentation, which would kind of go more into the details and nitty gritty. But the long story short is, you can't really legally advise someone to evade ICE. So if they are feeling uncomfortable and they believe that staying in their home is the best thing for them to do based on their situation, then I won't tell them not to do that, but I would also tell them to reach out to me. Sparkle, you can share my information. I mean, reach out to me for consultation, or to someone else, that's local to Utica that can go through their specific situation and, advise them on what the best course would be for them at that time. But we are in very difficult times right now.
Yeah, that's what.
A lot of the things that used to be a lot of the things that used to be a clear shot rule, it's just not the rules anymore, because the government and their agents, they're not following all the rules. So there are a lot of things being litigated, a lot of things going on in the nation's courts. That is just a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot, because I'm like, I love everybody. I feel like we can make space for everyone if it's just done properly, with integrity.
Yeah, exactly.
But so a lot of people, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the tension. I'm feeling the scare, the fear, and I'm like, oh, wow.
And honestly, not to be a fearmonger, but it is. They're for good reason. Usually, I'm just going to give you one example, and then I'm going to try to steer in another direction.
Okay.
For one example, whenever we have an administration, the administration's job is to set what their priorities are as to who what type of immigrants they plan on detaining and trying to remove from the United States. On the under without calling any specific president's name, but on the certain presidents we had where, okay, they were given the instructions that the we are to detain criminal immigrants. Criminal immigrants being here unlawfully is not specifically a crime. So when we hear the word criminal immigrant being thrown around, people are thinking, oh, well, oh, my neighbor's an immigrant. I don't even know if they have papers. They're criminal. That's not what we're talking about. A criminal immigrant is someone who has committed and been convicted of specific crimes that was so aggravated that they are considered to be a public threat. Okay, so under most administrations, those are the type of immigrants that we're going after to detain and to keep detained without bond until we can have a hearing before a judge to decide whether they get to stay if they have asylum or if they get to leave. Under the current administration, those priorities don't exist anymore. So anyone who is here unlawfully, right, even though the news says, well, we're only going after criminal immigrants, right, the definition is skewed as to what a criminal immigrant is. But right now, there is no priority. Anyone that is here unlawfully present, meaning that they don't have a currently pending asylum case, they don't currently have a pending, adjustment of status to a spouse, or anything else that's pending that might possibly give them benefits, any of those type of people are subject to being detained by ICE. And not only just being detained by ICE, many of them aren't eligible for bond. And so they have to stay locked up until they're removed. This is creating a big strain on the economy because now we have to find places to house all of these people. We're holding people that have done no crime. Their crime, according to you, is just being here, right? So I wouldn't say not to worry, because then I would be lulling you into not worrying. But the reality is we are in strange times.
Wow. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. So your work supports immigrants, survivors of domestic violence, and victims of trafficking. What in your spirit, Oneka, because I need to, for real, I need some of that. What in your spirit pulled you towards advocating for people who are often overlooked or unheard of, like the voice of the voices, like you mentioned earlier? What pulled you to that demographic?
So again, just going back to the story of my life, I grew up a Caribbean girl from a very marginalized community. The community I came from in Trinidad, not only being from a small island, I also came from a small community in the Caribbean where every time you turned on the news, it was I'm not going to say the name of where I came from, but let's say Moravian. They would say, oh, a Moravian man did this, or a Moravian man caught for the bank robbery the other day, or 5 Moravian men, apprehended by the police. And some of the press was true, but a lot of it just really was not, or we were always the prime suspects, so you don't get to see the end of it. It was always our neighborhood, and our neighborhood was heavily policed. So I was able to come out because of doing very well on an exam in elementary school. I was able to go to one of the top high schools on the island. And when I got out there, I saw a whole different world. I was able to, rub shoulders with some of the people that did not have those experiences. And that's one of the things, even when I worked as a co-director with the Mohawk Valley Junior Frontiers, I tell the kids all the time, take a trip, right? Get out of your hometown. Because until you get out of your hometown, even if you watch TV or you hear of certain things, your vision is still just right here, right? Until you get out of your hometown, you see how other people are living, you see how things are, then you have something to dream of. Even if you have to show your child a video of what it means to be a doctor, or take them to the Utica Children's Museum so they can see different, expose them to things, because you would think that they understand the world and they have no idea. So for me, I think that was one of the things that kind of shaped me, being able to come out of my neighborhood and meet other people with of like minds and realizing that my neighborhood is not inherently bad, or that they would say, oh, everybody from Moravia is this kind of person or
Right.
whatever, and being able to be that person to show that we are not. We are smart, we can succeed, we can be all of that. So I carried that on my shoulder for a long time, like trying to prove to the world that, hey, yeah, by the way, we're not what you said we are.
I
But
love.
now I'm able to kind of reach back, and I realize that the people that mentored me up, and I also need to reach back and mentor,
Mm.
right, and pull and lift and carry
Yes.
those who come behind me. I don't know if I answered the question, if I just rambled.
Oh yes. No, no,
But I
no.
think, I
It
think,
was
yeah,
it was a it was a healthy ramble.
yeah.
I have another comment from Nancy watching on YouTube. She says it's hard to get a lawyer for annulment in this area. And then she also says, so what happens if they lie to their attorney and then later find out it was really a fraudulent marriage?
So to clarify, is this from whose question is this? What's her name, Sparkle? Is it Nancy?
Yeah, that's Nancy she's watching from YouTube.
Okay, so state laws vary in different states, and that is also a more of a legally nuanced question for your particular state. So I'm going to explain a little bit of the difference between federal law and state law, and to explain to you why I can't directly answer that question for you, Nancy. So
Okay.
I practice federal immigration law. And because I practice federal immigration law, even though I went to law school in Florida, and I took my bar exam in Florida, and Florida decided, hey, you passed, you can not only be a lawyer, you're now an attorney, right? So I'm now Attorney Oneka Roach Campbell. Because I practice federal immigration, I can practice immigration in any state in the union, right? Because it's federal. However, questions of things like divorces and annulments and things like that, those are questions of state law. And depending on what state you're located, would be the attorney that's allowed to give you the answer to that question. So even if I may know the answer to that question, then I will be engaged in an unlawful practice of law if I was to answer a New York State divorce question. So what I would have to say is, hey, you would have to go speak to a New York State attorney who practices family law to give that type of answer. So I'm sorry. I'm so happy that you're being
Oh
engaged.
wow.
But when it comes to the family law questions, then I'm not able to answer those if you reside outside of the state of Florida, which is where I practice family law.
Oh wow. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult understanding the nuances when it comes to like state laws, your attorney, because you hear attorney, and like even with family, I go to family gatherings and they're like, oh, so Nika, and I'm like, listen, the question you're asking me, that's like if I go to my dentist and I ask my dentist about my back surgery, he's gonna look at me like, I mean, I'm a doctor, but I don't know that question. I might give you the wrong answer. You could destroy your back.
Right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
they keep us licensed in specific areas, and we are, as a member of the bar, we have an oath that even if we may have experienced this personally and we may know the answer, we're not allowed to give that answer because it'll be considered unlawful practice in that state. Even though I'm sitting in Florida, if I give New York family law advice here on the line, I can get the quickest report and challenge to my license quickly. And we want to keep Oneka talking, so
Yeah, we want it. We don't want that
we
to
want to
happen.
keep that license.
No, we don't. We don't want that
Fighting
to
for
happen.
folks.
So
So
you blessed us in New York State in 2018. You came to Utica and you helped build the Refugee Citizen Project, right? The
yeah.
Citizenship Project, excuse me. What did you see in this community that made you want to plant some roots here? Because I'm sure those roots are still growing.
Oh
I'm
gosh, I
sure.
love Utica. I love Utica and Rome area. You people are just a vibe. It's so weird to explain that when I first heard of the position in Utica, Rome, first of all, when I told people I was moving to New York, they're like, "Oh, you're going?" They immediately think you're going to the city, and I said,
Yes.
"No, Utica." And they're like, "Oh, you mean like Utica Avenue, Brooklyn?" I say, "No, the city Utica." They're like, "Well, where is that?" Man, when I drove into Utica and I looked around, I was like, "Wow, this is really a small city, a small town, but we'll make it work." But what made me put roots down in Utica is, number one, Utica is the fourth largest refugee resettlement city in the entire United States of America. So the diversity of the people there, and not just the refugees, because a lot of times we kind of overlook the local people, the people that were born, bred, Uticans. And I love you guys because you just have a sense of togetherness and family. And listen, you got to be careful. I can't, if I say, "Oh, you know what, Sparkle," like, "Sparkle, that's my cousin." Well, that's my sister's brother's auntie,
Right.
you know, because it's such a tight knit community.
Yes.
The people, the love is genuine, as well as the hate, right? If they love you, you know that they love you, and they are all in for you and with you. But if they don't like you, they're not going to think about it. They're not going to smile with you in your face and pretend that they're just going to keep it moving. So that's what I love about Utica. I mean, I met a lot of very authentic people that even now, I mean, I've been gone from Utica since about October of 2024. Wow, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's already 2 years already.
But even now, like, to keep these kind of ties, I've been to Houston, Texas, and I don't have people that I keep ties with and communicate with like I still do with you guys. Like, I mean, it's just you, Sparkle, there's Sister Tioka, there's Miss Eunice. I mean, I can call it, there's a list of people, Jackie Nelson, Pastor Sharon. I mean, just a list of people. So it's the love of the community and the way that we deal with each other with authenticity, and, you know, the ability to just kind of work together and just acknowledge each other's weaknesses as well as strengths, and hold each other accountable and lift each other up.
Yes.
You know, the love.
I love it. Yes.
Every chance I get, I'm running away. I'm just waiting for y'all to stop snowing.
We waiting. I'm waiting patiently.
Yes.
So you served on several boards and community organizations, Oneka. You're just like phenomenal.
Oh gosh.
From your perspective, Sissy, what does authentic leadership look like, especially for women in our communities?
Okay.
You
see my hands? You see my hands?
I got 5 on it.
Right, you see my hands, right? Not only that, you see, I don't have no nails on, not in the beautifully manicured, but you got to be willing and able to get your hands dirty, right? You got to be willing and able to do the work, right? So authentic leadership, especially for women in our culture, in our communities, looks like a leader that's not just sitting there talking about it, but actually willing to go out there and do it. And that's why when you say I've been on many boards, right? Because I can sit here and talk to you all day about, oh, well, we should be doing this and we should be, uplifting our community, and well, the mayor isn't doing this. Well, who better to get it done than to go sit? Why don't I go sit on the mayor's police reform board like I did, right? Why don't I go? They want to, the community foundation wants to inject money into Mid-Utica Neighborhood Preservation Corporation. Why don't I speak with them and, guide them and read over what they're trying to feed them? Because, and I'm not speaking badly about the community foundation, but we know that they've had a history in the Black community in Utica of promising one thing, but then we get something else. So, just finding where your talents and your skills can be used and being a servant leader. I'm not going to just I'm the president of the board, so I'm just going to be here and then you do this, right? My job, and the reason why I got involved with many of the nonprofits, none of them paid positions, all of them doing it just because voluntary boards, just because it's my passion and what I want to do. But being able to see my people not being bamboozled, right? And not being treated that the way that they've been treated for years, and actually reading those contracts and, bringing that level ability of legal analysis to assist our community in that way. So being authentic to me means putting your hands to the work and not just talking the talk. And being the same person that you are in public, that you are in private as well. Right? Yeah.
Yes, I love it. So I'm just gonna go off and ask you one question on the side because I got you and you flowing. So a lot of people don't know this. So when I ran for city council 4 years ago, I met you,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result of you finding out, it was like automatic. Every month, off the top of the list of people who donated to my campaign, it was you, Oneka Roach Campbell. It was you, like monthly payments, like EBT, like hitting on the first of the month, like
I just put me out
during
there.
the entire campaign.
I thought I
never
was being
told anyone
anonymous.
this. I never said it out loud. Oneka
I know you
Roach
never. This is
Campbell,
the first time you said it.
since day one, you had your money coming out, your coins, girl, that you working for coming out to support me for that. So I want to know, and the audience watching want to know, what did you see in me that made you put those dollars into my campaign from off top?
So, I mean, from the time Sparkle, I have to say this. Even before I was introduced to you, when you walk into a room, you bring a presence, and they say like-minded people. You can recognize someone within. If you're a person with a strong discernment of spirit, right? You can recognize that person's spirit and that person's aura when they walk past you. So before you even said a word to me, I could already see and I could know that this female, she is a bad mama jama. She stands up business, right? She's not afraid. You reminded me of myself. You're not afraid to say what needs to be said, right? You're not afraid to say what needs to be said because this is not a popularity
No.
competition. This is just what needs to be done because this is what's right. So I saw that, and then just in general, like I don't put my money anywhere and everywhere, but I also believe in putting my money where my mouth is. So if I'm going to stand up, I'm going to tell people that Sparkle is the best person for this job. I'm going to put my money behind that. And because my money, my pockets speak a lot to me, right? Because I got 5 kids, right? So when it comes to putting my money behind something, it has to be something that I believe in. I mean, I don't know if you were named Sparkle by your mom or if it's just a moniker that came about based on your personality, but I can see the sparkle in your spirit. And I can see the sparkle in, your abilities, Of course, in life, there are many things that may weigh us down or cause us not to take up the momentum that, we may see in ourselves or sometimes not see ourselves. Because, for example, Sparkle, I can say this, and I've struggled with this a lot in my life. There's this thing, there's this phenomenon that they call imposter syndrome, and I still suffer from it, right? And for example, when you asked me to share my bio, I don't feel comfortable writing my bio because I don't really know all this stuff about myself. But if I go somewhere and I'm accepting an award or something, and then the person has telling me about myself, or they start telling the crowd about me, and I'm like, I hear it, but that doesn't sound like it's me, but it really is, because in your mind, imposter syndrome tells you that as an African American woman, why don't you go sit down somewhere because you're not supposed to be doing all that. But you, Sparkle, you know who you are as an African American woman. You know who you are as a person, and that imposter syndrome, you got to shake it off. Be like, yes, it is I. It is I, and I can do things because I was made from greatness. So I seen that in you, and I seen that a lot of greatness, and it's still there. And that's why anything that you do, I'm supporting. I don't care if I'm the only one in the room. I'm there. Hey, Sparkle, So that's funny. You just called me out.
Yes, I wanted to, and Nancy's over here like, you understand?
Sparkle you are a phenomenal woman. You are Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31 says she sees the field, she studies it, she looks at it, she says, oh, this is a good investment, or this is somewhere. And the investment doesn't always have to be cash, right? I can invest my time, my energy, just you doing this podcast. You just always constantly finding ways to invest your time and energy into places and things that will build and lift not only yourself but others in our community. So I saw that in you, and that's what drew me to you. And it's been 2 years, and I still can't get you out of my spirit. I'm like, hey, Sparkle,
And
I'm coming by. When
I'm
you
here
come
to
visit
say
me, I don't plan to
I'm
let you out of
coming.
my spirit.
I'm coming. It's called Infinity. We are infinity connected. And then
Yes.
it's so funny. But let me just first say publicly, because I doubt if you got a card, because my behind then went into somewhere else after I ran. But let me publicly tell you, thank you for your contribution to my campaign.
Oh,
It means representations matter, sissy.
it does.
Representation matters, You
It
actually
does.
even when I was doing getting this platform together tonight, I'm like, I'm gonna look into what it becomes to be a lawyer. Then when I saw all that work on Nika, girl,
Girls doing.
girl.
I had 2 kids.
I mean, at
God
the
is
time,
good.
listen, this is exactly why you are on this podcast right now, talking to me in real time on International Women's Day. This is just God
Right.
is great, man. This is all in divine order.
That's
So,
right.
Victorious is saying blessings and peace to us. It was
Blessed, my sister,
beautiful.
I say.
It was beautiful today. And Nancy is saying, Okay, so I'm not gonna keep it too much longer. We almost finished here. Got one more question for you, because I'm
Sure.
so very proud of you, by the way, because in 2022, amongst your all levels of achievement, you see these stuff behind me, kind of to like what you were saying, right? You said that when you expect an award or when you're doing something, this was a part of my self-love. Like over the years, I've been accumulating. This has just been like all over. So I said, to Sparkle, I said, one day I got up. I always do vision boards. This time I said, no, take out the stuff, all the awards, all the achievements, all the stuff you got over the years, and put them up and look at them. So now it's been up here maybe about 6 months or so. So this is a part of my
Love
like
it.
just knowing that I have accomplished something. So when I'm laying down, I'm looking at it. I'm sitting down, I'm looking at it. I reminded myself how far I've came, because it's so easy at this age now that I am to feel like, or when I'm getting caught up in my thinking too much, but that's another conversation. But I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you in 2022, because 22 is a wonderful number. That's also your number too. It's also a
That's my
power.
number. You remember
Yes.
222.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? My birthday is 222, and I received that award in 2022. That is definitely my number. I'm glad you pointed that out. Keep it going.
Absolutely. Because people lie and everybody lie, but those numbers, they don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
received the YWCA Salute to Outstanding Woman Award for social justice. Social justice was the category. What
Mm-hmm.
did that recognition mean to you personally?
So I would say, first of all, when I received the call about receiving the award, I immediately thought of all of the amazing women that I have met in Utica that can be that were just as qualified and have been doing just the same work that I've been doing, that maybe just didn't get that call that day, but they were all deserving of that same award. So when I went up to collect that award, I wasn't just collecting it for myself, but I was collecting it for the at least maybe 10 to 20 amazing women that I know in the Utica Rome area themselves, that may have either received the award before me or haven't received it yet, but will receive it at some point. Or if they even never receive it, in my heart and in theirs, we know that they are amazing women and well deserving of that recognition. So, I feel like me receiving that award was representative of them and us, not just of me. But just getting the award itself was very humbling to me. Again, like I said, I've struggled all my life with imposter syndrome. Like, who? yeah, I did that. Yeah, I hear you, but oh, you're reading 3 paragraphs about me. Okay. So it felt a lot and it felt good to be recognized for, a lot of the hard work that
Hmm.
I've been putting into the community, but also recognizing that the hard work that I do for the community is never done for recognition. So just like you just pointed out that I gave money, I thought I was being anonymous. My bank account, I thought I was being anonymous in my giving because that's just how I am. I give to many things. I might not just give financially, but my energy and things. But I do a lot of it in the background, and I try to stay in the background and do the
Oh,
hard
my
work.
bad.
But
I ain't
again,
mean to
when you
put you on
stay
the
in the
spot.
background, no, it's
I
okay.
ain't
It's all right. But when you
mean
stay
my
in the
bad.
background and you do the hard work, your talents and your work will make space for you. So
Mm,
I was just happy that it made my hard work, not looking for recognition, made space for me to be able
yes.
to go up and receive that award on behalf of myself and all of the other phenomenal women that work together with me in this community.
That is huge, Onika. That's a huge award. Is there any other awards that you've been given that, just period? Did they have the same feeling or was this one just unique because of the way?
Yeah, I've received other awards, but this one was really unique for me because the other awards I kind of expected them. I was like, okay, well, this is what happens. But to be recognized by the YWCA, especially having joined the Utica community in 2018,
Mm,
and like you guys being tight knit, right? You got to prove yourself to people from Utica. They got to
yes.
know that you can't. You cannot fake it, right? You got to
Yes.
prove who you are. So it meant a lot to me because for everywhere else I've lived before, I've received awards, but I've been in like huge communities, right? But
Yes.
where there weren't many people to choose from, or there wasn't like that tight knit where we're not going to choose you unless you're really doing the work. So it was an honor to be recognized by the people in this community as a social justice mover and shaker, because
Yes.
they have to actually you can't fake the funk. You can't just write a resume and send it in. Somebody has to nominate you, and then they have to kind of vote on
Wow.
it. So it it
Oh,
it,
that's
it stood
awesome.
out. It stood out for me in that
Yeah,
way.
because you are extraordinary. So, I wanted to go back to mention. I don't want to, oh, maybe you can mention for me some of the boards that you are on because I don't want to. I'm looking for it now.
Oh, well, or I've been on some of them. The only one I'm still on is the Mid Utica, the muck. I'm currently still on the muck, and I'm
Mhm.
currently still on the Women's Fund.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's
so I'm on the Women's Fund. I'm on the muck. I was the past board president of the Mid Utica Neighborhood Preservation Corporation. I've been on the membership committee for the NAACP of Utica
mm,
Rome. I've been co-director of the Mohawk Valley Junior Frontiers. I've been the secretary of my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, or graduate chapter, Nu Psi Omega, in the Utica
mm.
area. Um,
Wow.
that
And
those are
why
the ones
you?
I remember
That's
right
the
now.
ones you remember right now. So I'm
Yes.
gonna, I'm gonna, I want to verbalize your greatness because representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
So Onika also received her Juris Doctor, Juris Doctor from Florida A&M. Let me start over because I had to actually look up Juris Doctor. I didn't know what that was.
Uh-huh.
So you received your Juris Doctor from Florida A&M University College of Law in 2013 and your LLM in Immigration and Naturalization Law from Texas Southern University. Thurgood Marshall School of Law prior to
HBCUs.
hello
All
prior
right.
to your current work at VOCA, Victims of Crime Maternity, where we talked about who you advocate for. You was also a solo immigration law practitioner, owning and managing your own thriving law firm. And I remember that your law office in Utica. That's where I used that space. Wow, this is so.
Right off of Genesee. I'm like, come on, you could use my office space.
Yes, we used your office space. It was like a pretty much
Mhm.
our my
Yeah.
campaign headquarters for a weekend or so, some weekends. And while I was running, you see how much you looked out on, Nika? I'm thinking about
Oh
it.
yeah. If I could make a
So
space for you, why not?
that's right. I remember, right on Genesee Street. You don't even know how much pride I felt walking in South Utica on Genesee Street,
Uh-huh.
coming into my Black sister's law office. That I felt them when I walked up them steps. It was a different walk. I'm gonna tell you that. It was a
Aw.
different walk. So Oneka also in 2018 worked as a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society of Mid New York, where you recruited to build capacity in the Refugee Citizenship Project. And you received many awards and held various positions in nonprofits. And you just mentioned those. And also the Black Leadership Coalition. You was one of the founding members, coalition founding member. And you also held membership in the Invisible Mohawk Valley.
Mhm.
And wow, I wanted to say that out loud. Excuse me, I just went off. I just had to. I'm not gonna pass that by. All right. I just wanted people to know that, who we're talking with, but I know that she's talking wonderful. And that's why I love your humility is in you. And also I want to say about the Proverbs women, it takes one to know one. So I'm just a
Oh.
mere mirror of your reflection of your spirit, sis. That's what that is. So I have one last question for you before you leave us after this International Women's Day. When we look back at you, Oneka, when your children and this community look back on the life of Oneka, the phenomenal woman, what do you hope that your glory story would say?
Whew. That's a difficult question. I know I probably said that for a couple of the questions tonight. That one is particularly difficult because I feel like that is a chapter that's still to be written.
Mm,
Like in my spirit and in the work that I do and everything that I strive to do in my community and in this world, I strive to do it out of the inner part of me and not for like the recognition that comes with it.
mm,
So I would hope that the work that I do would speak for itself, and that the changes that I help to influence in the communities will benefit not only my children and grandchildren, but your children and great grandchildren, right?
mm.
In that it will provide a safe space for them. Okay, it will provide equity. Hold on a moment.
Okay.
Can you answer, Carice? It will provide equity, a safe space for them, and a better leaving the world a better place for
Yeah.
them than we inherited, right?
Yes.
So, as far as my glory story, I would hope that when I leave, this realm and move into the other, that story would be written in stone by the next generation of those that have been influenced and have benefited from that. Because what I think that I'm giving may hit and influence and encourage them in many other ways more than I can imagine.
Mm.
So hopefully, they will take the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not all perfect.
Right.
And pull out of it the best, um, and make that work for them.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm
So
not
I
sure
have
if I answered the question.
yes, you do definitely answer the question. So I saw that you had a um a phone call. So I'm just gonna sign out right now. And I wanted to know if you had anything else you wanted to say to our listener audience. I did have one more question, but I think you said everything. I think you said everything. I'm
Hmm.
just grateful. So I guess the wisdom that you shared with, I was just wondering for a young Black woman, a young woman of color, a woman that's been, you mentioned marginalized, that's been marginalized, who might want to pursue law advocacy work. What is one or two words that you might have for her?
Don't give up. Don't believe what society tells you that you can't do. I'm not going to say that the glass ceilings are not there. The glass ceilings are there, but they're there to be broken, right? They're not there to live and to dwell under. So don't let anybody define for you what you can do and what you can't do. The power is in your belief. If you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't.
Mm. Sis, thank you so much. And thank you everyone who's watching from Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you for sharing your journey with us tonight. Your
Thank
story reminds us, oh yes,
you.
your story reminds us that purpose isn't just about what we accomplish. It's about who we uplift along the way. And tonight we had the opportunity to hear the glory story of a woman who is using her voice, her education, and her heart to stand for justice. And that right there is powerful. So thank you all for joining us tonight on Reality Speaks TV. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, share, follow the page, look into Oneka Roach Campbell so we can continue bringing you real people, real talk, and real time. Good night, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Good
Yeah,
night.
good night.